Good morning, everyone, my fellow OT colleagues. I just want to take this time and tell everyone I appreciate you taking the time to watch and listening to my presentation in order for me to complete my capstone. Along with this video, there is a pre-survey and there's a post-survey. If you all could fill those out and then you can just send them back to me via email, that would be great before Friday. I'd really appreciate it. My capstone is using social skills improvement system, assessment tool, and intervention guide in Greenville County schools with mild intellectual disability middle school students. I just find that there's a huge correlation. I didn't find. The research shows that there's a huge correlation between social skills improvement and economic success, which attributes to increased employment after they leave school. And this is a huge area, obviously, because it's transitional years that we're seeing some of these kids. So my objectives is to educate or increase your understanding of the OT scope of practice with social participation, identify the important social skills, identify and understand basic social stories, some statistics showing the correlation between increased social skills and academic success, which increases their career success and their self-worth or self-efficacy about themselves. Identifies the specific population, which I did allude to in the previous slide, and obviously discussing the social skills improvement system assessment tool and the social skills improvement intervention guide. So here we go. So the OT scope of practice with social skills, social participation is one of the occupations under our frame of reference. They included sleep as well, so this was new to me going back to school. The performance skills we typically look at here in the schools is motor, but however, we're always looking at process and social participation skills, because as we know, we don't just treat a child's motor skills when we're seeing them for occupational therapy. We treat the whole child. We provide objective data to teachers, parents, using our clinical observation skills. We provide quantitative and qualitative data using our assessment tools. That's how we determine eligibility through a comprehensive or an individualized OT evaluation. We provide client and student goals based on assessment findings, obviously, the collaborative team approach, the IEP team, and under the IDEA related service laws, obviously always relating our goals back to the context that we're in, which is the educational context or the academic context. Provide evidence-based interventions to meet the needs of the student so that they can be successful in the classroom. And then, of course, provide feedback and educate the team on educational therapeutic strategies that can be used to increase the students' skills in all of the settings that they're in. Obviously, we don't want them just to be able to say hello and thank you and make eye contact in school. We would want them to be able to do that with mom, dad, sister, brother, and out in the community as well. So these are the important individualized school social skills for success. Obviously, being able to communicate and greeting others, making eye contact, like I said, your appropriate tone of voice and some gestures, or just being polite and saying please and thank you. Cooperation and sharing, helping others, obviously sharing and complying with the rules in the classroom, but also out in society. The assertion, initiating behaviors such as asking others for information, introducing oneself, and responding to the actions of others. Obviously, if you feel more confident about yourself, you're going to be more confident starting or initiating a conversation. So your assertion is going to increase with social situations. Responsibility, obviously, respecting adults, showing regard for property or your computer or your desk or your schoolwork, demonstrating the ability to communicate with adults in a respectful way. Empathy and concern, showing concern, respect for others, feelings and viewpoints. I should have put mindfulness, because you always want to be mindful of others, what their viewpoints are. and you want to be aware of how others are feeling around you. Engagement and making friends. This is huge for middle school students. Typically, elementary school students, they have little friends, and then as they get into middle school, they just want to be accepted, and they want to being able to join activities and progress, and invite others to join the group, or they want to be asked to be joined to the group, whether it being in a social situation or an academic, because nowadays lots of students are doing group projects and they're breaking up the tasks. However, some kids may be excluded because of their decreased social skills. Obviously, self-control and conflict resolution. We see a lot of self-control issues, obviously responding, how they respond to conflict, and non-conflict solutions, taking turns and showing compromise. This is a learned behavior. All of these are learned behaviors. Some of our children, obviously, some of them are not neurotypical and some are very neurotypical, and they have the ability to learn, and specifically with mild intellectual students, they have the ability, the cognitive ability to learn these. We just need to teach them in a positive way so that they can increase their educational success. Obviously, I'll lead into the next slide. Important social skills for success in occupations. Obviously, education and career, positive relationships. This is social participation, feelings of self-worth, decreased problem behaviors. All of these affect your occupations, whether it be your social skills, whether it be what you do as work in the transitional years when you transition out of high school. So I believe we have a role in providing and setting up some sort of intervention for these teachers based on evidence, and that we can assist in this area. Social stories. All right, we all know about social stories. Obviously, they're short stories. They educate on social situations. They share accurate and social information. They increase and promote social understanding. They should be concrete, easy to understand text, enhanced by visual supports. Obviously, we have a visual format and an auditory format or a video format. Nowadays, they have peer-mediated ones. They have computer-generated ones. You have group ones. There's a whole host of ways that you can teach these social skills using social stories. It's very easy to do. And we have the audio-visual and the technology here at Greenville County Schools in order to make that happen. We just need to educate and assist some of the teachers in showing them how to do it and how to do it correctly for success. So here are some positive stats for social skills interventions. Obviously, this study by Derlich and Weisberg showed that they had a social skills group that met after school and for the whole year, for 60 minutes, and children of all cognitive abilities were screened, obviously done a pre-assessment and then a post-assessment. And what they found is that 27% had better grades, obviously higher achievement test scores, youth improving positive social behaviors, 35%, and 43 who felt better about themselves and their abilities. Obviously, if you feel better about yourself, the more positive you're going to be and the more effort you're going to put in to your occupation or your work, which right now, obviously, these students are in school and to receive a better education to ultimately to transition out of high school and get a job and be productive citizens. So the population, like we talked about, boys and girls of ages 11 to 15 with mild intellectual disability. I chose this area. I would go into middle school classes and the teacher would attempt to teach social skills, and the kids would be very aloof, wouldn't being participating, and we had peer mentors come in and they would be sitting, and I just felt that we as OTs could do a better job using our therapeutic use of self, educating and using using a evidence-based system. The reason why I would choose the system, and I'll go to my next slide, the assessments tool, the social skills improvement system, because they assess social skills, problem behaviors, academic competence, children with behavior and interpersonal skills difficulties. This would be something that's very standardized. If you can read, you can perform it. The nice thing about the social skills improvement system is when you have the young adults ages 8 and the older adults 8 to 18, typically they fill out a standardized form along with the parent and along with the teacher. I would think this would be very important because, again, we want generalization. We don't want them just to have increased social skills at school. We want them to be generalized. We always want them to have generalization skills because without them, we're not going to be able to increase our occupations once we leave or transition out of high school. So I just thought this one was a really good way to obviously generate goals, easy to administer, it's just a checklist, and then also be very client-centered because you're including the young students or the adolescent students in middle school from 11 to ultimately high school if you wanted to. It only administration to 10 to 25 minutes, and then you can leave it right in your box and you can score it and come up with some goals from it. The other thing is the intervention guides. So the social skills intervention guide is very evidence-based, like the assessment tool. It's highly structured for general education settings. So obviously we're in the age of No Child Left Behind where we need to do progress monitoring, and this intervention guide does have that step by step. Obviously these things use the intervention strategies target social performance deficit using 6 phases. We've all heard these 6 phases. The tell phase, you tell them the objective. The show phase, we model the behavior. Obviously we do this in our OT session, so this is not something that we're not able to do, and this is not something that we can't educate the teachers doing. The do phase asks the student to define it, repeat and ask the child to model the behavior. We do this in OT. We practice phase, review and apply the skill, have pairs of students practice the skill and provide each student with other feedback. This is where I think using peer mentors that come into the classroom in middle school to help facilitate these increased social skills would be a huge benefit to these kids, especially in middle school, because they're not so, I don't know what the word is, they're not in high school yet, let's just put it that way. And then the monitor, obviously everyone wants to progress monitor. We're going to ask, we're going to monitor it based on the goals that we come up with collaboratively, obviously in an IEP session, but we can use our assessment tool to guide the goals, but then also in a 3-year time, once they get into high school, we can see if their social skills have increased if and when a reeval is determined at an IEP meeting. And then of course the generalization phase, making sure to demonstrate the skill with a parent or older sibling. This is where I think we lack here in Greenville County Schools. We have an IEP meeting and we get like 2 seconds of the parent's input. There's another study that was done showing that there's a huge correlation, which this is not brain science, brain surgery. There's a huge correlation between parent involvement and a child's success in their career. So these are my references. Again, I really appreciate everyone taking the time looking at this. And I really look forward to your pre and post. If you have any questions, you can email me. I will do my best to answer any questions based on this. And again, I look forward from hearing from everyone. Thank you.